Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful prayer you led. And thank you for all of you back. And hopefully, this day will be a good day as well. Yeah? Hopefully, you will still keep smiling. And one other thing I like is we are all talking about humility. Yeah? I like you to think we should. I'm also going to talk about humility as a character. But do you see humility versus assertiveness? You see somewhere? Something. If you don't assert yourself, you go nowhere. Yeah? But if you're humble and backing off everywhere, then you go nowhere as well. You get my point? Yes? How do you balance that? If you want to be leader, you must be assertive. Yeah? You must communicate it with clarity and sharpness. Yeah, so that people already begin to think this is somebody who can lead us. And if you show, of course, humility is very important character for us, but do not make it as a complexity. That means inferior complex to anybody else. Yeah, that's very important. And that's one of the areas that I like to start with. That sometimes we do not appreciate ourselves. I'm going to tell this so that Grace also hears it, so she will help us all in this process. Self appreciation is an essential character and in the process of formation. You should appreciate yourself. Sometimes we don't appreciate ourselves. We do, we, because human beings have these two faculty. One is called memory and imagination. We always use that both faculty, not for the joyfulness, sometimes for our sadness, sometimes for our own miserability. Memory, we always carry a guilt. Whatever you have done in the past wrong, we carry that all the time. Yeah? And then we blame ourselves. Yes? And imagination, we use it to fear the future. Yeah? So we can use it very positively, the memory. What we have achieved, what we have done great. And in spite of all the failures and shortcomings, we can appreciate that. That's what David also does in Psalms. You know, I see all those people are flourishing and bad people are flourishing. He says, yeah, all the bad people are better. I don't see them anybody bad going bad. But good people are not doing well. But then I remember what the Lord has done in my life first, and I am thankful to the Lord. And the Lord is going to do this. It's a very interesting psalm. If you read it, I'll give you the number later. But I think it's important fact for us to look at the memory as something positive. Positive where you have achieved something small, not necessarily great thing. Yeah? And also when you use that, you are using the imagination positively, looking forward with hope that defeats the fear. Yes? Yes, you can always do better. You can always do better, not than somebody else, better than what you have done before. So you are competing yourself. You don't need to compete somebody else. Yeah? So that is the character. So in that regard, I like to start with this one. I would like you, each one of you, to write a letter to yourself. Yes. Letter to yourself. And I hope Grace can give you a cover and you can put that letter in the cover and write your own address. Yes. And she will post to you. Appreciate it. It looks like a madness, isn't it? Yes. It looks like a madness. Sadly madness. But I like to see that happens. Write appreciating yourself in a letter. Dear Joshua. Yes. And you are appreciated because you list certain things. Yeah. Now you're smiling. Come on. You know, Grace, can we do that? I will, give the cost of it, postal cost. I need to say that they each will write a letter to themselves. And if you give them a cover in the afternoon, they will put it in the cover and paste it so that nobody else sees. Yes? And they will write their own address. And the Bible Society post it to them. Is that okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, you after the meeting, keep this letter. But I like to add one more thing to that letter at the end, saying that what I want to be in 5 years' time. What I want to be in 5 years' time. You write that. And keep that letter after the 5 years and see have you become what you wanted to be. Is that making sense? Right. That is part of the formation which we look at. How to reform ourselves. Okay, where is my computer? I like to actually are there people joining online as well? Yes. Okay. Can somebody connect this to me, please? Are there any questions about yesterday? If you have, we didn't give you much time for asking questions. If you have courage to ask, please ask. You need to have courage, but that you can even challenge some of our thinking. And actually, if you have, you should ask questions. Any questions? Any questions about how our story and the Bible story can be merged in our way of looking at of life? One time for 6 years, I used to teach in the University of Birmingham as a lecturer, as a tutor. They called it Selyoke Center for Mission Studies. Yeah, I was a tutor there. So I had many students, including one from Cameroon. Yeah, and he went back. He afterwards his name is, you can type it in the. He's also, when you are a leader, you can always be a controversial and be good. Newspapers report both. When you are extra. His name is called Funky Samuel. He is Funky Samuel is his name. Yeah, he is the president of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. So he left, and we keep relationship. I run a face group for my own students, which has grown to a big group called Mission Christian Missiology. So you can visit that as well. So he after some time he made a call to me asking, Brother Joshua, of course. They always call me Brother Joshua, even though you should also call me Brother Joshua. That makes me feel young, So if you make me professor or uncle, then I feel that I'm old. Yes? Yes, doctor? Yes, pastor. So it's good. So he calls me. Here is the situation. Do pray for me. I have many schools. Out of one of the schools, 120 young girls and boys are abducted by the Boko Haram. What shall I do? That is what he said. And I said in the early morning, oh dear Lord, yes, here you are. So we prayed together what the Lord would guide. And he said, I asked yesterday, somebody told at the end, I think I remember, somebody said at the end, I think it was Samuel or somebody else said, what Christ would do in that situation. That's the exact question I asked. Huh? Who asked? Yeah, he was here. Yeah. Doctor, what Christ would do in that situation. That's what I also asked him. How do you imagine? And he said to me, Christ would just walk into the camp. And he said, do you think you can do? I asked. I will pray about it, he said. And he just walked into the camp, came out with that 120 children out. That's all in the news, you can read that. It's in Cameroon. It was so risky for him to walk to them. And he called them, and the police said, we'll come with you. No, they said nobody. He went and talked to them, and he got not all 120, but something around 80 of them were released in the first group. So threatening. So sometimes being leader means you are ready to walk into the den of far before that, you are imagining leaders to be a simple, easy thing. I'm just giving this example, not because this all will happen to your life, but I'm saying the reality is what is out there. Are you ready? Are you prepared enough? Are you confident enough to form yourself to face that? That is what is leadership like. So there are three areas. Yes?
So yesterday,
Are you okay? This is board. Huh? Board. Can somebody adjust that, please?
yesterday we talked about Christian leaders or Christians facing persecution or trials in their workplace as a result of standing for the Bible or standing as a child of God. But I want to ask, instead of just saying Christians should face trials and persecution, will I say is it a good thing that when we have a Christian organization fighting for the justice of Christian, so if for example as a Christian I was persecuted in my workplace, there's somewhere I can go to fight, for me, or rather than just saying no, I'll face my persecution and just move on with life. And so I want to ask, as a Bible Advocate Center, do you have such structure whereby when people are persecuted, they can, come to you and work things out? Thank you.
What is your profession?
I'm a pastor.
Right. I think that is a good question. That's a good question, which I actually raised in Pakistan as well when I was in Pakistan to the same group. They raised this question to me. You see, this is very, very deeper question, but I will try to answer in a minute. Maybe others also can help. In Nigerian context, maybe others may be better in answering this question than myself. Yes? And I think anywhere God is God of mercy, God is God of love. Yes, God asks us to love neighbors regardless of who they are. That is Christianity. Even Islam has kind of 5 pillars, where one of the pillars you have to qualify for the charity, you must be a brother or sister within the fold. Yes, that is the norm. Okay. Some people do it outsiders, but it's very rare. But that's one of the research. I asked some of the scholars whether that charity qualifies people outside. It's normally no. But in sometimes many places practice-wise, they do care for Christians, they do care for other people when they are poor. They do. But with the purpose that they may become the followers. That's also possible. But I'm not saying Christianity is better than Islam there. I don't want to say that. Yeah? Christianity also has the worst leaders, who can hate others. That's a different thing. But for me, what you are asking is God of love. God is also God of righteousness and justice and peace. Yes. So in that sense, I have always talked about many people who went on interfaith relationship. Oh, you speak good, I speak good, we listen both good. But I started saying, no, it doesn't look good. We need to talk about justice as part of our conversation. Yes? So it's very important for us. How do I talk about justice for the poor among Muslims? How do I just talk about justice for the women in Islam? The same way, how do I talk about justice for the persecuted Christians? Yeah, let's talk about it fairly. We are not going to accuse each other. We are not going to put any religion down. We are not going to make you feel guilty nor us guilty, but let's chat about it. Yeah? Can we stand together? Do we want to see a human head is cut in front of you, in front of the camera? No. Those are the things that we need to certainly talk about. Justice should be part of any conversation in intertribe, interfaith, interreligious, or anything, and even in our conversation. Is that okay? Because justice and peace. Peace without justice is no peace. Justice without peace is no justice. That's my position, and I think Bible also would certainly affirm this. Is there anything you would like to add? Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah, you mentioned that as Christians, perhaps there could be a group that can advocate for a Christian, in organizations where they are fair. Like he said, it's not only Christians, institution of humans, where you have 2-3 people gather or more. There must be a process, put in place to ensure that people are fairly treated. For instance, I work for some multinationals. We have a system in place that you could raise your grievances against probably your boss or your organization. And it goes through different levels. And these levels, they review it. And sometimes people make accusations, sometimes that are not just. And in the course of investigation, you find out it's not just. And when it has a case, it will be fairly looked into. And then, of course, the appropriate measure is taken. So it gives the worker confidence that will be fairly treated. And if, again, there's a failure, there's also a way that can recourse to higher authorities. These are structures that are supposed to be in this.
Anybody? Please give him an applause. Anyone like? Be brief. Just a few sentences.
I think what's asking is if there is such an advocacy group in the Christendom that defends the rights and the privileges of the people, and whether the Bible Society, is that what you are, whether each organization have that?
Yes, I was trying to avoid it and coming around it. Yes, because you see, we promote advocacy of the Bible, yeah, along with it justice. But we don't, of course, we are also trying to become the voice elsewhere. But there are many other organizations that are doing it, so we don't want to compete with them. Yeah, like what is that? There are many. If you want to be in touch, I will put you in touch. That's it. Yeah, because there are other Bible Society does it. Because I usually ask the China Bible Society to talk to our colleagues and talk to our fund people and others, but they all talk in a very polite way, because we are also even thinking using persecution as a word, because I was involved with the British government, I was involved with the US government, and if you type my name and US government, you will see me. I spoke 2 times in the Congress about Christians under pressure in caucus, promoting certain groups to be listed as extremist group and terrorist groups. So I just don't want to get involved in that directly, but in your certain groups. Just last year I was there in the US Congress. So for me, there are possibilities there, but that's a different issue. But if you want to do as a leader, that's what I'm looking at, is a different thing. But if you want to be personally campaigning it, we need a bit of work on that. But I will put you in touch with the right people if you are interested. Is that okay? That's a different personality things, okay? Great. Here we are. Forming leader. This module aims to enable leaders to comprehend their individual uniqueness and the foundational relationship they have with God, fellow humans, created reality as pillars of Christian leadership. Central to the module is the idea that to be leaders who bring restoration, they must first understand who they are, their relationship with God, and the plans and purposes He has for them. A range of practical tools will be used to help the emerging leaders explore the biblical vision, values, and disciplines that will help form them into effective biblical leaders of restoration. So that is the concept. The basic concept is we are trying to find out, aware of our spiritual formation. How do we form, where we are in spiritual exercises, in relation to God, in relation to the Bible, in relation to ourselves, in relation to the world. That is one. The second one is personal formation. How do we form ourselves? Where are we working on? What are the areas, weaknesses? What are the areas of strength that we need to work on? The third area is contextual formation. How do I read the signs of time? Am I able to read the signs of time? Am I able to read the Bible and relate that together? These are the three formations. I hope I will go through that slowly. So, in that way, what are we doing is we are restoring back ourselves to the original Adam, original image of God that was created in us. That is the restoration. Yes? In spite of all the shortcomings that we are seeing. So, to develop biblical leaders of restoration. And so the learning outcome is you will be able to demonstrate how their formation as a biblical leader has brought restoration in their context. So how do you bring that restoration in your life? Is there any questions there? The whole module. So in the module, I am looking at first session, and Pastor is going to look at 2 sessions today. Yeah. Are you ready?
Well, I think so.
Great. Wonderful. Getting to the heart of the matter is the session 1. Emerging leaders will be able to recognize areas of their lives where they have strengths, areas requiring greater development. So the key learning point is highlight the importance of the transformed heart across the story of the scripture, the importance of self-awareness for leaders, recognizing how self can conflict with the purposes of God. This is the reading. So you have these learning outcomes for you and the points. So, okay. How do we form ourselves to be authentic individuals? There are 3 questions which I am asking. How do we form ourselves to be an authentic individual, authentic leader, authentic catalyzing leader? You see, we have in pastoral training, we have called a circle, pastoral cycle. So here we are, an authentic individual understands the Bible, understands himself or herself, make a decision to be part of that story and practices it, and then reflect on the practices, shortcomings, and the barriers, and then grow. That is the cycle if you want to develop a person. And an authentic leader, what he or she does is going beyond the reflection and the growth and start sharing that joy and influence others, make an impact, and thereby witness, which is important. A leader. You start analyzing what impact I am making, then you are using also a reflection on that impact. Then authentic catalyzing leaders add not beyond impact, initiate. You are going to initiate with a plan, blueprint, and then bring change, and create leaders. This kind of multiplicity of creating it. You know, going back to the nuclear bomb. You know, when you have the uranium there, cherished uranium is, I'm sorry, if you are not science, ask me questions. When you have cherished uranium, you just put one neutron into it, you know, it keeps a chain of reaction. That is exactly what we like. When we create you as leaders, you start creating many leaders who can influence and do the same.
Multiplication.
Tell me again?
Multiplication.
Yes.
That's the principle of multiplication.
Yeah, go on, say in a few sentences. That will give you a brief.
That's the principle of multiplication, and that's what Paul used for Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2. This I have given to you, pass it on to others, and they will pass it on to others. So people are multiplied.
Great, brilliant.
But when you look at it very well, it's more divine with David. When I think it's your role model. So when you look at David, David gathered together men of no value.
Yes, it came to him.
They came to him in 1 Samuel 22, 1 to 2. The vagabonds, the dropouts, the everything. But by the time they were referring to them in the book of 1 Chronicle 11, he has made them to become mighty men. And they started stating who they are. They have been formed. That's what we are looking forward to have from you guys.
Right. So I think I should ask you too soon to go in groups. And here we are, Daniel, as a how does he prepare himself, for any eventualities? And in Psalms, if you go first Psalm, if you read everyday Bible, you will be like a tree. Even the leaves will not fall, and you will be bearing fruit all the time. Psalm 121, your children will sit around you on the table. See, that's all there. But now he's in prison. He's in, no, he's not in prison. He's in, what do you call, in another country, and taken as a slave. But now he has become one of the part of the rule or part of the family of the governance. So Daniel, but he never gives up his prayer. Yes, Daniel, who is thinking that it's not only in private space, but even in public space, God is acting, whatever space it is. Yes, Daniel also one who believes God is just for all human beings. Yes, God as one who believed, Daniel is one who believed God is for God every day. He prayed in the morning, he prayed, and also in his life, he was very truthful and faithful. That's why he got up in the ladder. Yes, and Daniel faced all the challenges with courage, no compromise of his faith, because his deeper spiritual practices made. Yes, is that okay? That helps us to form. And then personal formation. You have it here as, I think in personal formation, we need to have some of the emotional intelligence and personal values, which are very, very important for us. Jesus took feedback, do you know? How did he take feedback?
Yeah.
Yes. Quick, please.
At the beginning, at the early stage of his ministry, he asked a question: what do people think I am?
Exactly.
And later he asked the people, who do you think I am? That's a feedback.
Exactly. Who do the people say that I am? That's brilliant. Thank you, sir. And I think that's a very important question. And do you know, Jesus always hears, and we take it mystical, but it may be very interesting, knowing their heart. So it's very important for us to have that emotional intelligence. That means emotional self-awareness, where we can be intimidated. If a worker, you know that this guy is going around and telling about you. He is coming for a favor to you now as a manager. Yes? How do you sit on your emotion? Yes? Yes. Can you still smile at this person? Can you still smile at this person? Can you still say yes? What will make, come on. Say no.
Well, that would be a difficult decision because looking at it, you will be thinking, if you could just, let me just say to the face that I've heard a lot about you telling people about me. Why are you doing that? And you are now coming to me for favor. But on the other part, let me say in the Christian life, you may just want to let it go and then just do what the Spirit directs you to do for that person.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You need to recognize the dilemma. It's not all straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's complex.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very complex.
It is complex, but I think what Christ would do in that situation. Let me give you another example of adaptability, flexibility in handling a change. Yeah, you get a person appointed under you just for 6 months. Yes, that means he is in the probation period, isn't it? Yes, probation period. You think this guy is worthless for the job. He is not having enough skills that he promised that he has. He doesn't have experience in this field. And everything he wants to come to you, and half of his job you end up doing. So what would you do as a manager at the end of 6 months? What would you do as a manager? Come on, quick. What would you do as a manager at the end of 6 months?
After the probation, you let him know that he is not qualified for the job.
Yes. So what happened?
It's like I'm giving you a second chance, sort of, but not second chance. So it's just after the 6 months, I'm letting you know that this is what you're supposed to do. You've not done it. So I'm giving you the grace of extra 3 months. After that, anything I do, I'm justified. I think I've tried.
Interesting, interesting. That's interesting. That is the way the world behaves, of course. We should. If you are part of a job company, you have to. But then now we are asking, can your leadership be an inspirational leadership? Can you be unique and different? What will make you unique and different in that situation? I heard similar thing. So what happened was we had to, if people said, just fire him. Just. So it's not only me. There may be many people thinking the same. So what we did was we tried to walk extra mile, extension, and we gave them special training, sent for special training to take the skills, but still didn't work. But we never let people down without praying. Yes, we pray together.
Joshua, I'm laughing is that I faced this a lot of time. That you need to take decision, and people will come around and tell you, and you call yourself a pastor, you call yourself a Christian, and you have a black book that you are recording what they've done and so on. But to be frank, we show empathy, we show compassion, we show emotion, but at the same time, you must be assertive when it gets to a level. Like he said, as an inspirational leader, you call him or her, he could be having problem. There could be a gap in the skill, which you need to be deliberate to work with. And if after that is not, then you will need to look out for something else for him or her to do. It could be within the organization, it could be outside the organization. I've had the opportunity of talking to somebody and I said, young lady, you are better off as an event manager in the system. And today is an event person, and she's doing well.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's good. That's exactly. Are you ready to walk extra mile with this person? Are you ready to walk extra mile? And you are ready to walk extra mile in a way without compromising your ideals, your very quality of the work. You know, you are still recognizing this person as a problem, and this person doesn't meet the expected thing, but you are ready to say, let's pray together and let's also work on what is your strength, where your strength can be more joyful and used. You know, so we are kind of working towards where he can be prepared or she can be prepared and go and find more joy by expressing the strength there, and rather than trying to work certain things, certain areas that is not working. That's the extra walking extra mile is a Christian principle as well. So anyway, that's where we become self-aware of what we are in the light of the biblical principle is different than what is in the secular principle. Are you getting my point? That's where you need to become self-aware. When you are in the touch with God, there you become unique and different. And that's what Paul is trying to say, humility and depending on God's grace. In 2 Corinthians 12:7 is very clear. I have a thorn in my flesh. Yes? That's what he says. And recognizing his one weakness. He says, I am more idiot. I think the word in Greek, I'm more idiot than any of you. He says, you know, and then modeling Christ-like behavior, adaptability and resilience is very important in emotional intelligence and personal values. We decide on certain personal values based on this. Okay? And so now, I think the contextual formation is what I want to stop with, is you need to read the sign of times and looking ahead of time with biblical wisdom. Sometimes, you know, people like Micah saw ahead of time. That's what the leader does. They were in the exile. I was trying to get the word exile. You know, but they saw the swords are converted to plowshares. And even Isaiah, the second Isaiah, the wolf shall live with lamb. They began to imagine peace. And they began to speak about it. They began to, when they imagine, and they could other make others to imagine. So I'll tell you how a Pakistani Supreme Court judge, and I'll stop there, imagined that he was a Muslim, and there was a girl who was put in prison. You can read the news for blasphemy, you know, and she was sentenced to death. But then one Christian minister, I met him long ago, and he went and said, this blasphemy law should be thrown to the dustbin. And in a week's time, he was shot dead. Yeah, he's a Christian minister in the government. And the Supreme Court judge, previous to him, two people previous to him, he said blasphemy law should not be used against minorities. He was shot dead as well, you know. So this Supreme Court judge, he knows if he says anything against blasphemy law, he will be in the list. Yes? What he did was very interesting. He went through Bible and Quran, and he made a very interesting statement. You could read that in that link. I will share the PowerPoint. He made an interesting statement. He said, blasphemy law should be affirmed. There is no compromise in it. But the blasphemy law says those who really did blasphemy against Quran should be put to death. Then he said, he passed a judgment, those who falsely accuse other people of blasphemy law should also be put to death. All those who appeared against this girl did not appear at all. And he passed the judgment. So how he did hermeneutically, and he said, I drew this wisdom from the Bible. You know, this is what playing around. In a sense, hermeneutically interpreting sign of times very carefully. Yes? Are you getting it? Okay, great. I think that's where I will stop. And I'm going to ask you a different way of doing today. Hopefully you can try this. I want you to find another person as a partner. Yes, go to different rooms, sit with them. There will be 20 minutes I'm going to give them, if that is okay, or 10, 20 minutes. You share a particular weakness that you worked on in the past with other person. Yes? But not necessarily expose yourself. But I think particular weakness you worked on, how you handle it. The other person will listen carefully for that 5 minutes, maybe less than 5 minutes, and give feedback in 2 minutes how you could have done this, how we could do that, how you can work on it. And then you will turn around and the other person will say about his or her weakness. And you will listen and you will give guidelines. And then after 15 minutes, give feedback to each other. How will they listen? How they give ideas and suggestions? And then come back and give feedback here. How that process works. Did you follow me? Did you follow me? Okay. I will tell you again. Example. Now I'm going to talk to him, okay, for 5 minutes. I will share, one of the areas of my weaknesses in terms of particularly leadership formation, yeah, areas that I have struggled with in the past. Okay, let me say it this way. I think that may be too specific. You are afraid of opening it up, okay? Let's say it this way. You had encountered in the past a particular challenge in your workplace. Yes, a particular challenge or problem in your workplace. You share with the person, and the other person will give you feedback on how you could have done it better or how you could have done. And then the other person will start his or her story to you, and you will give feedback. And then both of you come here at the end sharing how that process went on. Is that okay? Are you ready? Not sure? Okay. Yes, I think this is going to be a tough one, but this is very important practice in terms of mentoring, coaching, listening, as well as personal formation in terms of how you work with each other. And that's very important. Because basically what we do in terms of coaching, we ask people to identify openly about the weaknesses so that you start naming it and start working. And you are ready to even seek help elsewhere. Yes? Because people hold on to them. But I'm not saying it this time. Do not necessarily share your weakness. Rather, you share a problematic context that you recently faced. And how did you try to overcome it? And then the other person give you feedback. You should have done this. You could have done this way better. And then the other person will share the story. And then you can give feedback. Is that okay? Please. I think if girls go with girls, that would be easier. Or girls go with boys, that's fine. That's fine. Can we start now? Please go along anywhere you like. What is that? You want a partner? Please raise your hands. What's your name? Mary. Mary needs a partner. And if you want help,
Yeah, once again, thank you for the opportunity. So, from the discussion with my partner, I was able to understand that sometimes standing your ground does not mean you are being wicked. It means you are standing for the right thing, and it will not only help you, but help everybody around you.
Anyone else?
Good morning, everybody. All right, so from my conversation with my partner, I think it helped me because I felt I had exhausted all options as to how to solve it. But it was like it gave me a new outlook as to how to approach the subject. Then as regards listening to him, it was a matter of trying to put myself in his shoes and trying to calm down to understand how he was feeling, what he was going through. So it was another moment of just trying to learn new things.
Brilliant. I think that is one of the things which you are developing, which we didn't name it, called empathy. In your emotional intelligence, you are expected to develop the character of empathy. Empathy where you are not merely sympathetic, but you are putting yourself in the shoes of others and see how that looks like. Yeah? That is part of the emotional intelligence.
So having a conversation with my partner, while I was listening to her, I was thinking what she did was actually right, and there's nothing I can do about it, or there's no new thing I can tell her. But just like you have told us, what will Jesus do? And I think sometimes that would be the only escape. Oh, you have done this, and to you it might look perfect, and but when you take it to the line, what will Jesus do? Then sometimes, then you realize that the action you took, or the action you think is right, will be actually wrong. I think, yeah.
I think the idea is not right or wrong there. It's more how we could actually turn the situation around where you start leading and witnessing, making your presence as a unique and distinct person. That is what we are looking at. You can follow. There's no right or wrong. Christian or our method are not wrong, right, so that the other method becomes wrong. No, no. How can you improve that skills of being leader? Because people, when you are unique and distinct, people begin to see there's something special that I can follow that person. That's where you automatically start leading. Yeah, and that also makes an impact on the other person, and then you together start making the impact on others. Yeah, great. Thank you. Any other comments? Yeah. On your experiences of listening, not necessarily comments on what went on, but on the experience of listening and engaging, solving, and proceeding. That's it.
I think it was a very good exercise because I learned that as a leader you don't just listen to people in making decision. Of course, you have to listen to them, but you don't make decision based on their feelings because your followers are always trying to impose their feelings on you and want you to make decision based on their own feelings without you thinking about what needs to be done. So I just think that as a leader you don't just because okay, for the story of Saul, now it was the people that were saying that Saul should offer the sacrifice before Samuel would come, and then they pulled him into fire. So I saw that I was making certain decisions because people were saying that do it this way, do it this way, instead of me just sitting down, praying, and then waiting and see what instruction God would have me do. So I think it's going to be better from now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this table? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, on conversing with my partner, I learned that it's not every time you expect apology from people, even when they are wrong and they know what they did is wrong. You just have to let go of it. Don't expect them to apologize to you before you take it off your mind.
Thank you. I think that guys seem to have enjoyed this. Very good. Even though you hesitated.
Yeah, in conversation with my partner, his story really touched me, and and because he faced the issue of tribalism as a minister. So I learned that as a children of God, we should not lose our hope that God still compensates, because in his ministry he was facing the issue of tribalism. He was, as a Yoruba man, he was transferred to all these Igbo people, and he faced a lot of challenges, and later on God compensated him.
Please appreciate as they do it,
Good morning. Yeah, what my partner and I discussed was, you know, he is slightly new on the system, so he took some decision alone. He couldn't carry his boss along, and what the first module that you even gave is that we have to understand, we have to make a relationship, and we have to plan. So what he did was that he, instead of him to carry his boss along, he went ahead to call the, okay, he went to do it, and in so what I learned is that I should not make the decision myself. I should carry whosoever. So in relation to what happened in the Bible, Moses did not do it alone. He went to God, and God told him what to do.
Yeah, thanks. That's very helpful. Very good. Very good. Very good. Anyone? Yes.
Thank you, sir. The conversation was so it was a blessing. I learned that in whatever we are doing as leaders, we should when we make mistake, we should recognize our mistake, accept it. However, we should not allow it to distract us or discourage us such that we will not be able to achieve the original goal. With our experience at the time, they learned that one mistake should not be a pointer to missing the main goal, but you should work on it, learn from it, and make sure that you eventually achieve the goal to the shame of the devil and to the glory of God.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. The discussion was very, very lengthy, but educating. What I was able to get from it was that the point, when you are working and you are overwhelmed, you have to take note of things you must do. There are some times you need to give feedbacks. It must be done at the right time. If you missed it that time, it can cost life and can cost so many things. So if you don't do it at the right time, you may pay for it in a bigger way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think that's an important point. I think we are getting there. Some of the points that getting feedback and giving feedback with courage. You know, prayer, loving and caring and a Christian way is part of our journey. Yeah, and that's very important.
Okay, good morning. So after I had the conversation with my partner, I was able to understand that sometimes when we are relating with customers, we should not act with emotions. And we should be careful with our words and know how to communicate, so that even when the customer feel bad, they will see come back that, okay, the way this person related to me, that is okay. So he can still come back to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I think, is there any, you want to?
So for us, in between two Lone Rangers, we learned that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with others. So as people, as leaders in every area of our work, we should learn to delegate work to people instead of taking it all by ourselves.
and trying to just be the hero.
Thank you. And I think feedback and emotional management is very important. I think if you are a leader and if you are growing to be a greater leader, 1,000 people, 10,000 million people, your emotions are, you are still smiling even in the funerals.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so from our own conversation, I was listening to my partner, and I understand that he's afraid to take leadership roles because he shared a practical example for me, what happened to him. Trying to manage the people under him, and every time they give him troubles and all of that. So he was not able to, manage the situation, and that gives a lot of burden on him. So from then, he could not, take up the roles again. So I now shared my own experience on how I was able to manage even people that are older than me, in a way that, and I'm very sure he's happy to, take up the role again.
I think it's also important, it's not only coming from our own experience, what Christ would do. That's the question somebody asked there as a pastor, what Christ would do in that situation.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So from my group, I'm able to learn two things: divine guidance. Like sometimes we make when God is telling us, like the Bible says, He sees the end from the beginning. Sometimes God is saying, "Don't go this way," but because we feel like, no, 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 this is looking like this from the beginning and it's going to be greater at the end. But God, who is seeing the end, is already telling you that that is not what I want you to do. Because sometimes in life we make decisions that God has even already warned us ahead. But because sometimes we want to see God come in and say, "My son, I'm talking to you," and most times it's not always like that. It could just be that could be that soft voice, or even in a dream, and God will show you that don't do this, but we tend to ignore and later regret in life. And another thing I learned is the principle of leadership and followership. Like, to be a true leader, you have to be honest. Like, sometimes you say some things that might hurt others, but if you know that that is the right thing, you should not hold back, you should say it. And also, to be a follower, you must to be a leader, you have to be a follower. If you can't follow, you can't lead. So when people are correcting you, you should take to correction and know that it is for your own good. Thank you.
Wonderful principles. You want to say something? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, brilliant. I think we should go for coffee.
What they have just said.
Yeah, if you want to comment.
There are two things I want to talk about. Number one of our sisters used a word, which again my brother used a good word to counter what she has said without knowing. Your word communication is very, very important. When you say all these Igbo people, it's a word, it's already reading in between a line that we need to, it's even already tribalistic. So we need to look at that as an emerging leader, so that you don't have a bias. Anyone that comes to you, it's not about, it's my religion, it's my brother, my tribal man. So we need to look at that. Then one of the guys talk about standing your ground. Standing your ground sometimes may not be okay, as long as what they are asking you to shift on is not a sin. You can't stand your ground with your leader a lot of times. So please, let's learn all this as we are imagining. There are times that we need to go back. The leader that is telling you this may know better than you do. And there are a lot of examples that we can give you on that, but we are not going into that. But standing your ground, as long as it is not a sin that they are asking you to enter into, go back to God. Talk.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. You want to make any comments, please?
Yeah, a good session. At least I went around few of them. One thing that is very critical in leadership, again, is you need to have wisdom. Sometimes you have the skill, you have everything, but you need wisdom to be able to handle some issues. So, and of course, the Bible says that does anybody lack wisdom? Is it James 1:5? Can anybody stand before God and say, I have all the wisdom? So we need to ask for wisdom in all we do. And I'm sure that we'll be better for it.
Thank you. That's brilliant. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Brilliant. And I think it's important. I am very happy that you guys have really come out in that way. And basically, formation is not happening in vacuum. Formation is happening in a particular personality yourself. Formation is happening in particular relationship that you have, that in your workplace, in your church, in your family. Formation happens in a context of a nation, global context, in a community context. So where you are looking at, and I think you will hear more on it, and I'm going to ask you to go for coffee before that, yeah? So in that way, today what we looked at, personal formation can happen on self-awareness and certain things of feedback and other things. And then spiritual formation we can work on by having certain practices in place like prayer and biblical reflection. But not simply do prayer for the sake of prayer, but you are also reflecting what I'm doing today. And the third one also is contextual formation. How do you read the signs of times and hermeneutically play a very intelligent relationship? Not simply like the judge, you remember Pakistani judge. So you need to play a very careful game there. So that is the formation. So we will talk more on it after coming back. And I think, can we give them 15 minutes break for coffee? Do you want to say where they need to go, the same place? Okay. Here. Coffee. Okay, great. After 15 minutes, you'll come back and Pastor will lead the next session. Okay? Brilliant.